Dining is such a big part of a trip to Disney World, and with over 200 restaurants and so many different cuisines to try, it can be difficult to narrow down exactly where you want to eat. But today I'm going to talk about dining reservations. I'm going to do a step-by-step on how to book them and then give you tips on how to score those hard to get dining reservations. My name is Sophie from Most Magical Guides, and I make videos all about how to plan your own most magical trips to Disney World and Disneyland Paris. And I'll also do vlogs of my own trips. So if that is content that you like, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. So first, let's do a step-by-step of how to book your Disney World dining reservations. Now, recently I booked my own for my own upcoming trip this September, and I'll have a new vlog series out this October showing you that trip. So I recorded my screen whilst I was doing this so I could show you exactly how to do it yourself. Now, the first step I would say is you do need to have some sort of itinerary in place to be able to book your park pass reservations so that you can enter the parks. This can actually really help you with knowing where to dine, because you're most likely going to dine either in that park or in a Disney hotel that is close to that park. I would say that some of the best restaurants at Disney World can be found in the hotels, so definitely don't skip over these. Luckily, Disney has transportation, so you can easily get to them, and it means you don't have to miss out on some of the best dining you can find. The second step I would do in preparation for planning your dining at Disney World is to look at the Disney World website. The dining section then has every restaurant that is available, it has menus and prices, so you can get a good idea of what you would like to order, where you would like to dine, and how much it's going to cost you. Step 3 is knowing when to dine. So you are able to book your dining reservations 60 days in advance of your trip. If you are staying at a Disney World hotel, you actually get a massive benefit because you can book up to 10 days of your trip at the 60-day mark. People who are staying off-site can just book 60 days in advance and would have to do it for each day of their trip. The reason this is such a big benefit for people staying at a Disney World hotel is that you get to access bookings that day guests and off-site guests do not get to see yet. This means you have a better chance of getting those super hard to get dining reservations, so it is a massive benefit if you're staying at a Disney World hotel. Step 4 is ahead of that 60 days, make sure that you add a credit card to your My Disney Experience account. You should already have a My Disney Experience account because you would have had to have booked in your park pass reservations. So what I would do is make sure you have that credit card details in there. When you book a dining reservation, they do ask for a credit card to guarantee your spot. This is because if you don't turn up, you will be charged $10 per person for a no-show. To be able to book your dining reservations, you do need a credit card to be able to guarantee this. You cannot book without one. So definitely make sure that you either have entered your details already into your My Disney Experience account or have your credit card on hand when you're booking your dining reservations. Something I like to do is type out my long number and then copy and paste it so that it's super quick and I'm not having to keep typing it out over and over again. This also helps speed up the process, which is super important when you're booking these dining reservations because the quickest finger on the draw tends to get the best reservations. Step 5 is to be prepared on the day. What I like to do is to go onto the Disney website about 15 or 20 minutes before the dining reservations open up. This way I can open up all the different tabs for the different restaurants that I want to dine in. Getting there early means that I can sign into My Disney Experience. I can then open up the tabs for each individual restaurant I want to make a reservation for, and I can enter the date and time and have everything set up before 11 AM when the reservation system opens up for you to book. So I would say this is a big part of the dining reservation booking. What you need to do is save time, because any wasted time means reservations disappearing. I would say that this is a massive part and even maybe the main key feature of booking your dining reservations. What I like to do is have a tab open on my computer for every single restaurant that I want to book a reservation for. Now, if you're staying on site and you're booking 10 days of dining at a time, that can be a lot of tabs. If you're doing it for one day at a time, you may only have a couple or maybe even just one. By doing this, you will save so much time of having to search for the restaurant and load the page. And as I said, speed is the key to getting these dining reservations. So this is such an important part. And that's why I always log on a little bit early, so I've got time to have everything set up, ready to go at 11 AM UK time. Something it is good to be aware of is daylight savings time. Obviously, twice a year the clocks either go forward or back, but sometimes this happens on a different day in the US. So definitely check in advance to see what the time difference is so that you can be making sure you are booking your reservations at the correct time. The dining reservations actually open up at 6 a.m. Florida time, so just check that the time difference is what you're expecting it to be, and it might be different to 11 a.m. depending on if they have had their daylight savings the same time as us or not. It's all very confusing. There is talk that sometimes the dining reservations actually open up at 10:45. Now, I every day did check this just in case, and for me it always opened up at 11 a.m. But it is worth noting that when I booked special events, tours, things like that, that either opened up at 5 a.m. UK time or 10:45 a.m. I'm actually going to do an upcoming video all about how to book tours and special events at Disney because it is slightly different to the way you book dining reservations. So make sure you keep an eye out for that if that is something you are looking to do during your Disney trip. Step 6 is to make sure that every single restaurant has its own tab open in your browser. Step 7 is to make sure that you enter the date and time you would like to enter ahead of 11 a.m. When you open up the Make a Booking tab, you will actually be able to see the date that you want to book, but just when you try and book it, if you're booking before 11 a.m, it won't let you do it because the booking hasn't opened up yet. But it does mean you have the advantage of being able to select that date in advance and the time. For the best chance of getting a dining reservation, I would suggest selecting an actual time frame rather than breakfast, lunch or dinner. This seems to work better. I don't know why this is, but for some reason, if you select an actual time rather than a time slot, you seem to have better chances of getting dining reservations. Step 8 is keep an eye on that clock, and at 11 a.m, refresh the page. Once you refresh that page, you can then click the button to help you book that reservation. You've already got your details loaded, so it's literally just one click, no faffing about, and then the time slots that are available will come up. You can then select which time slot you prefer and then work your way through the booking process. What will happen is the first screen you will come to will offer you things like, do you want a specialty cake? Anything that you can add on to your booking. I don't need any of this, so I just click next and skip right ahead. The next page is where you will select who is dining. You do not have to put everyone in your party. You can just select 4 people and just have your name on the reservation. Do be aware that whoever is booking is then in charge of the reservation. So if any modifications or cancellations need to happen, it has to be that person, not anyone else that is dining. If the people that you're visiting with do have a My Disney Experience account that is linked to you, you can add them onto this booking so Disney know who's turning up. The only time that you do have to have a name for someone is when you're booking something like Cinderella's Royal Table. This dining reservation is slightly different because you do have to pay the price in advance at the time of booking. Because of this, they want to know the names of each person that is dining. I wasn't able to book this dining reservation without putting a second person's name in, and I'll talk about that more later because I'm actually doing a solo trip, so it seems a bit strange. This is the only dining reservation I made where I had to have a second person's name on the booking, and that's purely because you had to pay in full in advance. It is worth noting that even though you do pay in full in advance, if you did need to cancel that reservation, you would get a full refund. There are no other dining reservations that require this, but things like Hoop-de-Doo Musical Review may need you to pay in advance, so it'll be a similar system to Cinderella's Royal Table. Once you have selected who is going to be dining, you then move on to the next page where you put in your credit card details. If they're already saved to My Disney Experience, they should come up. Now it is worth noting, for me, even though my credit card is in My Disney Experience, it did not come up. So instead what I did was typed out the long number and then copied it so I could paste it into all of my further reservations just to save some time. Details like my address were already stored in my Disney Experience account, so they did already come up, so that helped me save a bit of time too. Once you've filled out all of your details, you then click next and go on to the next page. Here it just tells you about the policy of the $10 fee if you don't turn up. It asks if you have any allergies or dietary requirements, things like that. At the very bottom of the page, there is a box that you need to tick to say you understand the terms and conditions. So definitely make sure that you do that. And then you click the next button, and that is the final button you have to press. After that, that is when your dining reservation is confirmed, and you will get a confirmation number come up on the screen, as well as a congratulations message. You will then also receive an email that has all of the details, the confirmation number, time, date, restaurant, so you've got that on file for you. Something I like to do is create a file that has all of those details in, just in case the internet is down or my Disney experience is not working, so that you have proof when you go to the restaurant that you actually did make a dining reservation. I'm pretty sure that's probably not an issue, but someone like me who likes to plan every little detail always worries, but what if the thing goes down? But it is sometimes good to have those details on hand, or even screenshots on your phone, so that you do have evidence in the off chance something does go wrong with the technology at Disney. So now you know how to book your dining reservations, I'm next going to talk you through top tips to help you score the hardest to get dining reservations. Now, there are loads of restaurants to choose from, but there are some that have become iconic that lots of people want to dine in, and it can be very, very difficult to get those reservations. So these tips will help you have the best chance of getting them. My first tip is to book your dining reservations in the hardest to get order, not chronological order. So say you are staying on site at Disney World and you're going to book 10 days of your trip at the 60-day mark. Don't book them day by day. Instead, book the hardest to get dining reservations first, and then you can work your way through the priority order until you get to the least difficult to get reservations at the very end. What I like to do is in advance have some little research and find out which reservations are hard to get, and it will be things like all character dining meals, Ohana, Space 220, any of these big restaurants that draw a lot of crowds. When I am then preparing to book my dining reservations, I make sure that the tabs in my browser are in order of priority rather than chronological. That way I literally have one tab, once I've done that booking, move to the next tab, make that booking, and it just makes it so much easier than trying to scan and find the reservation that you want to book next. Another top tip that's related to this is try and book the hard to get dining reservations towards the end of your trip. Again, this is a really good tip for people who are staying on site because you get that 10-day window. You're going to be having access to reservations no one else can see, which means you get the best chance of getting them. It helps you even further if you then try and book the hard to get reservations towards the end of your trip, because a lot of people can't access those days yet. Something I would suggest is be flexible with your times. If you're willing to eat at an early or later time, you have a much better chance of getting dining reservations. If you want to only eat in peak hours, it's going to be much more difficult to get dining reservations. I would also say try and be flexible with your days if you're able to. So for example, if you really want to eat in Liberty Tree Tavern, which is the Thanksgiving style restaurant in Magic Kingdom, and you're going to be visiting Magic Kingdom for multiple days during your trip, be open to booking Liberty Tree Tavern on any one of those days, and that can help you have a better chance of getting that reservation. If you aren't able to get that dining reservation that you really want, then don't panic. There are websites such as mousedining.com which will send you alerts if a reservation that you want opens up. You can have a free version of Mouse Dining where you can have up to 6 alerts, and they will send you an email when one becomes available. The other option is to subscribe. I do something where I pay monthly, and I only do it for maybe a month ahead of my trip, and it costs me just over £7. It's $9, and that way you also get the text alerts. Now the text alerts are fantastic because you can kind of see them flash up on your phone, and they give you the best chance of getting the reservation. Whereas the email, there is a slight delay. Using mousedining.com is a fantastic way to get those reservations without having to constantly look every single day, because they're doing all the legwork for you. Something else I would suggest is that much closer to your trip, people's plans change, and therefore they start modifying or cancelling their dining reservations, which means in the weeks leading up to your trip, much more dining reservations become available. If you're happy to wait until last minute, then either on the day or the day before you want to dine, the reservations do open up because people change their plans. So definitely keep an eye out if this is something that could apply to you. It is worth noting that Disney do offer walk-ups, so that means you can walk up to the restaurant and say, I would like a table for 2, and then they will give you an estimated time you'll have to wait for. Now it is worth noting that sometimes walk-ups become completely full, so I wouldn't rely on this if there is a restaurant you really want to dine in, and sometimes the wait can be hours long. So just factor this in, and if you can make a dining reservation in advance, that is a much better way to do it. Something I mentioned earlier was what to do if you travel solo. So my upcoming trip is a solo trip, and basically if you try and book a table for 1, nothing is ever available. So what I do is book for 2 people. For some reason the system penalises people who will be dining alone. So a solo traveller trick is to book a table for 2. This can make you feel a bit bad, but the reality is you will be sat at a table for 2 anyway. They don't really do tables that seat just 1 person, so it's not like you're taking up extra seats that they could fill with more people. If you are a solo traveller and you use this trick, you will have much more dining reservations open up for you. And if there are places that you definitely want to dine in, then I would suggest this is the way forward. And I would also say, don't feel too bad. If the system is set up to deny solo travellers the opportunity to dine, then that is a problem with the system. You have every right to go and enjoy all of the amazing food at Disney World, so never feel bad about booking a table for 2, because until that system changes, it's something people kind of have to do. When you are booking, a credit card will be taken as a guarantee of your reservation. This is because if you don't turn up, Disney do charge you a $10 fee per person. If for whatever reason you cannot make your reservation, be sure to modify it in advance or cancel so that you avoid this fee. You are able to cancel your dining reservations up until 24 hours in advance. If you need to cancel that reservation within the 24-hour period, what you can do instead is modify the booking. You then set it for a date much further in the future, and once that's confirmed, you then cancel that. The only other option is to phone Disney, and then they will cancel it for you. One of the biggest tips I would say is don't stress out. Now, this is a great tip in theory, but in practice it's kind of hard not to get stressed. Even though I've done this multiple times, it still stresses me out whenever I do it. And I've always been really lucky and managed to get every single dining reservation I've wanted, so I know I don't need to panic. But I still do it. But what I would say, it's not a case of within seconds all the dining reservations sell out. So you don't need to worry, because there will be reservations available for you. And if not, you can use the tips such as checking ahead of your trip, and then also using mouse dining. I would say if you are staying off-site, it is much harder to get dining reservations because you can only do them at that 60-day window. So I would definitely use the tips of using mouse dining or waiting until a few weeks before your trip to see if reservations have opened up. But if you are staying on site and you have the access to that 10-day window, then definitely don't worry. The chances are you are going to get the majority, if not all, the dining reservations you want. And as I mentioned before, if you have some flexibility, this will really help maximise those chances. I hope these tips will help you when you're planning your own dining, and they will help you get those super difficult to get reservations that we all want to dine in. Let me know which restaurants you are super keen to go and visit. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you have the most magical day. Bye bye.